I have an aunt. Her name is Ruth. When I was writing the introduction for my sermon, I was like, I think that's all I got. So I have an aunt named Ruth, and today I'm going to talk about a woman named Ruth. I know, yeah, okay. But here's the deal. We're going to talk about Ruth today, and this is one of those things that I think, and by the end of this, I think you'll probably agree, if we can unlock something that Ruth had figured out, a few thousand years ago, I think we're going to crack the code on what the church needs more than anything, and not just the church, what our society needs more than anything. So the story of Ruth actually doesn't start with her. She's kind of a secondary character at the beginning because it starts with this other woman named Naomi. Naomi's great. She is faithful. She's got a husband. She's got a couple of sons. They're living in Israel. Things are going well. This is ancient Israel. This is Old Testament, okay? So this is a long time ago. And Naomi's there with her husband and her sons, and all of a sudden a famine hits. They can't live there. Now, if you can imagine along with me, I don't know, I've never gone through a famine. I went through the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. That's the closest I've ever gotten. But they're there, they don't have food. What do? You pick up and you move. You find a place that has food, which is what they did. They picked up, they didn't have a bunch of good travel snacks, beef jerky, nope. And they went through one of the most desolate places on the planet in order to go east into a place called Moab. So they get in there, they set up shop. It's not the same laws, it's not the same place where they're from, it's not the same culture, same language. None of it really translates apples to apples, but there they find themselves. And they're thriving. They kind of figure it out. But then something unexpected happens. Naomi's husband dies, which is a pretty big deal. Not just in the sense we think, but that's kind of like if you are married, your husband's retirement going away too. Because this is everything just left the house, except for she has these two sons. The sons support the parents as they get elderly. That's a good thing. Okay, well, at least I got my boys. And the boys, they're growing up in Moab. They meet a couple of nice Moabite ladies. They're not quite the Jewish women that she might prefer as a mother, but at the same time, they're great. They'll do. Their name's Orpah. The other one's name is Ruth. So there they are, growing as a family. The two sons marry these two women, and she's like, all right, sadness, tragedy struck, but there's still hope. Except it struck again, because both of her sons died, leaving just Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth there. And in this place, there's a lot of disorientation, like, what do I do? How do I live? Like, is all hope lost? And the answer, frankly, is yes. All hope is lost. You're kind of on your own. And so she turns to her daughters-in-law. Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands, that's her sons, and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband, because that's, again, ancient times. That's what you needed if you were a woman in this culture, in this society. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people, which is a big deal that they would even say something like that. Like, Naomi is the outsider. They're the insiders. This is their kind of hometown, if you will. They're saying, no, let us go back with you. And Naomi's like, no. You don't go back with me. You don't know all of the stuff. You don't know the culture. You don't know any of that stuff. And besides, what are you going to do? Because again, in ancient society, it would not be uncommon if she had a third son or a fourth son, that if the older two sons died, those two widows would then marry the third and the fourth son. That's just how it worked. But she doesn't have any more, so they're kind of free agents, if you will. But Naomi says, what are you going to do? Like, wait for me to remarry? I'm getting old. I don't even know that I'm going to get remarried. And beyond that, I don't know that I can have kids in the first place. So let's just say by miracle I do get remarried. I do have kids. What are you going to do? Wait for them to turn 18 or 20 years old? and then marry them? Like, how old will you be? Like, this is just a bad plan from every foreseeable dimension. No, do not go with me. She actually says that God has dealt with me. I'm accepting my fate. Whew. Things are not good for her. They all weep. Naomi is pushing her daughters-in-law, former daughters-in-law, away. She makes a good point. Orpah leaves. Ruth decides to stay, which might be the dumbest thing she could do. Like, what do you get out of this? But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. Now, she knows nothing about the Torah. She knows nothing about the history, like maybe some small cultural things that she's picked up from her mother-in-law, but like by and large, she's not aware of really what she's doing there. And besides that, she's got an old lady, her mother-in-law, who is angry and bitter and traumatized by these things that have happened to her. Yet Ruth sees that, understands that, experiences that, and says, I am all in on this. The Bible has a name for what she is doing there. And it's love, but it's not the kind of love that we think. We think of romance, we think of affection, we think of Netflix and chill vibes, like when we think of love, ooh, love. No, this is a different kind of love. This is a love called Hesed, Hesed, Hesed love. Hesed is a kind of love that is loyal. It's like a covenant. It says, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, there I will be hot on your heels. It's just, you're not going to leave without me. It can't happen. You're not allowed to say no, because I have a hold on you, the kind of love I have. You see, when we think of love as this thing that we think of like chemistry, or we think of it like romance, it's kind of like thinking of like, hey, I'm going to go hike Camelback in my new Italian leather shoes. Like, they're nice, they're really good, they're sharp, and I'm going to go do Camelback? Like, come on, how far are you going to get? You're going to be slipping, you're going to be sliding all over the place. Do they work? Yeah, that's nice. But what you need, if you're going to do that, is you need something that's going to grip the rocks. You need something that has traction with deep crevices, ankle support, for your feet, so that when you go out on that hike, you can grip the ground and you don't have to worry about your feet just sliding around. You can just go and do. Hesed is the kind of love that gives you a grip in life. This is the kind of love that is not shallow. Honestly, it's not very attractive, because you're saying, I am with you, as we say when we do weddings, for better or worse. And we mean that when the makeup's off, when the attitude is sour, when we have everything we could possibly imagine, or when we have nothing at all, I am there, and I will be there. This is how Hesed works. So Ruth, she doesn't have any answers for Naomi. She can't say, here's exactly why I'm doing every single thing I'm doing. But she just simply says, where you go, I'll be there. Your God, your worship, I will be right there. I'll be worshiping that God next to you. She's saying, I will love you so well, and here's what the grip looks like. I will grab a hold of this, and I'll show you what deep connection and attachment, how it works. That is Hesed love. When we talk about this kind of stuff, the importance of understanding that there's a grip, that there's an attachment to love cannot be overstated, because I'm going to say something that I think we all kind of understand, but we don't talk about quite enough. What you love. Could be a relationship, could be a job, could be God. What you love shapes who you will become. Another way of saying that is, you are what you love. How you live your life, how you start navigating, the choices that you make will all be geared at the things you love the most. So then, of course, the question is, what do you love more than anything? And I don't want to know what you'll tell me. I want to see your life. How do you answer that? Whew. Brings a bit of pause. When I think about somebody who loved well, somebody who kind of embodies this, I think of the author and the theologian. His name is Henry Nouwen. Henry Nouwen is a fantastic guy. He's since passed. He was a 20th century theologian, leader, and you might think, okay, what's the big deal? Well, this guy was the big deal. Catholic priest. He taught at Yale, Harvard, and Notre Dame. Like, he kind of got to the top. And every book that he would write was a bestseller. He had speaking engagements lined up, down, left, and right. The guy was in demand, and everything he touched was gold. But the one thing he knew more than anything else is that his heart, his soul felt like it was shriveling up as he got it all. So he looked around and he saw that even though he was good at academics, even though he was, hoisted and put in front of everybody as kind of the model of who to grow and be, he hated what it was doing to his soul. So he kept praying about it and he kept talking to people about it. And he said, you know what I need to do? Well, what do you need to do, Henry, the wisest sage that has ever lived this century? He said, I quit. So he quit, and he moved to France. He didn't move to France to live in an ivory tower either. He moved to France to live in a community with intellectually disabled men and women. And that's where he spent the rest of his life. And as he wrote books, and he's written a lot of books, and if you've heard me preach more than, one or two times, you've heard me use something from him. We did an entire sermon series that was through one of his books last fall. Like, he is just kind of the prototype when it comes to so much of this. He talks about this and he says, that's where I finally felt like it all made sense. Like, all the success of the world, that's fine. But if you only care about success, it's going to drive you into a place where you're like, okay, I have to work harder. And that means I have to push other people away so that I can be recognized as somebody that's successful. Or how about this? Maybe you don't have enough success. Maybe you've been successful, but not as successful as that person over there. So jealousy and envy just wreck your soul, and you cannot live with any sense of peace. Like, that's what he was kind of looking at if he kept making that a god. And so he stepped back and he said, I need to just kind of fade into the background. And more than anything, I want to be known for who I am. Not what I write for others, not what I even do for others. I just want people to know me, love me, and accept me. And that is where he found it. When we talk about love that has a grip, when we talk about Hesed, when we talk about any of these things, we see that it is always centered around your attachment to something. So what do you have a grip on? Or maybe what has a grip on you? What are the things in your life that you are becoming that you'd say, man, maybe you're on the back half of life and you can reflect on the first half and you can notice, okay, I went through a season like that, I went through a season like that, and where are you now? And maybe you're on your front half of life and you're looking around and you're like, well, how do I do this? And we'll talk about that in a second. That's a great question. Maybe you're like me and weirdly you're kind of in that middle phase of life and you're trying to say, okay, here's what got me to where I'm at now. What do I need to do? How do I grow from where God has me today? Because here's what I believe. You will become what you love. You will become, if you haven't already, You will become the thing that you love more than anything else. So if that's approval of others, you're going to live with constant anxiety. Do they like me? Do they like me? That's no way to live your life. If it's productivity, then you'll elevate things over people. If you want to live forever, that's fine, but what good is a long life if it's not filled with meaning? What do you love? What do you attach yourself to? The things that have that grip. And I'll tell you, when you do this, when you find what those things are and you start realizing what kind of attachments, what kind of things you've made with other people or God or maybe the church or something like that, you'll find yourself beginning to be shaped a particular way. Like wearing a certain team's jersey or something like that, right? Like it's like moving to Australia. You move to Australia for a month or two, you'll learn a few things. But if you live there for a decade or two or three, you're not just going to learn a few things. You're going to start sounding like an Aussie. You're going to start thinking like an Aussie. You're going to, for all intents and purposes, you're going to become an Aussie. That's what attachment is like. And this is why Jesus, in his final words, in his final time with his disciples, he sits them down and he does not give them a strategy for what to do next. He doesn't say, hey, the Patriots, they like running a cover two. Here's how we're going to take them out, okay? Or the Seahawks, he doesn't give them a strategy, a game plan for here's what to do next. I need you to go this direction, then you two go that direction, you guys go south, and then we're all gonna, no. Here's what he says. He says, remain in me as I also remain in you. Another word there is abide. Abide in me as I abide in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Must remain what? Remain attached, next to, connected to the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Jesus does not say, you must understand me, does not say that you must, get degrees in this. He says, no. You have to stay connected. You have to stay grounded. You have to have a grip on me. Hold on to this hesed love. This is what it looks like. Ruth says, where you go, I go. Jesus says, remain in me. It hits at the same thing. So being a disciple of Jesus, it's really three components. It's fairly easy, hard to do, but fairly easy to understand. It's where we do what Jesus tells us to do. Meaning you're not living your own life. You're not just saying, here's what my best idea is to how to address the issues that I face today. Nope, I will do what God told me to do. Okay, great. Do what Jesus tells you to do. If Jesus asks you to do something, you do that. Then you follow that up with number 2, which is you do what Jesus tells you to do when Jesus tells you to do it. Because delayed obedience is disobedience. I tell my kids that a lot. They love it. They always say, they're like, Dad, you're so wise. You're so smart. I will now go do the dishes. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Put that in your pocket. It's true for Jesus too. We don't just do what he tells us to do. We do it when Jesus tells us to do it, which means it's a list of priorities. Well, when I get to it, God, or when it's more convenient for me, God, no. Faithfulness, obedience does not look like working on your time. It looks like working on God's time. So we do what Jesus invites us to do, when Jesus invites us to do it, in the way that Jesus would do it if he were you. Now put that into perspective. If you often hear like, well, what would Jesus do? I don't know. He'd wear a white thing with a blue sash and he'd die for my sins. That's what Jesus would do. No, hold on. What would Jesus do if he were in your situation? Like you had a really bad meeting at work, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, and you get into your car and you're just kind of ticked off, okay? Now you're driving in traffic. If Jesus had the same day you had, how would he treat people on the street? If Jesus had the same husband or the same wife that you have, and they come home and they have a certain attitude about one thing or another, how would Jesus, if Jesus was married to that person, how would Jesus respond? gets a lot more personal when we shift that question just a little bit to say, hold on, well, if I'm expected to be Jesus, then what would Jesus do if he were me? So we do what Jesus asked us to do, when Jesus asked us to do it, in the way Jesus would have us do it. This is how you grow in life, okay? I'm going to give you the big thing. This is how you change. This is how you shape your life. This is how all of this happens. And it's like gravity, okay? This is something you can disagree with, but try jumping and see if gravity cares whether you disagree with it or not. You're probably not going to end up on the moon. This is just how this stuff works. You are not missing more better ideas in life. You're not one podcast episode or one book or one conversation over coffee away from having figured everything out yet. That's not the thing that's going to save you. The thing that's going to save you is when you bind yourself to someone. When you attach yourself and you say, no matter what, this is who I am and this is who I go with. That's how you do it. The question is, what kind of people, what kind of God are you practicing hesed love toward? What are you inviting in? Because you don't drift into a good life. You attach yourself to other people. You attach yourself to other ways of living, to God, in order to find a good life. Which is why Sunday mornings are just not enough. Like, it's fantastic. I like being together. This is a good place. I like the music. I like singing together. I like preaching. I think this stuff is important, what we do when we take communion. It has a place. But you can also tell that it's not the easiest place to just, right here, as everybody faces me, get to know the people around you and to get attached into a community. This is not enough to give you a true life that exudes life, a life on the vine, as Jesus might say in John 15. Hesed can be seen here, but it's probably not going to take root here. It's going to take root elsewhere, in other places. It's going to be proximity that shapes you, because the things that you love shape you to become a particular kind of person. And I'm guessing that you don't want another thing to put on your calendar to say, okay, pastor's going to try to guilt trip me into doing more and more and more. But here's what I'll just tell you. The things you say are the most important things in your life make their way onto your calendar, don't they? And those things become non-negotiables. You know, I did youth ministry for a long time. It still blows my mind how many people who are raising their teenagers say stuff like, well, you know, basketball practice, can't miss it. School, can't miss it. Church, whatever. Oh, you're tired, you're busy. I get it. I totally get it. What do you think that communicates to them? Now, at the same time, how do we walk with one another in those places? What if you could find a group of people that you don't have to impress because they just accept you for who you are? That you don't have to try and fix, and they don't even try to fix you, they just listen to you. Place that you're accepted. Like the church at its best is like that. But it's slow, it's awkward, it's difficult, it's ordinary. But I'll tell you this, it works because people get together and they start saying things like, oh man, you too, huh? Yeah, hey, I heard that you navigate, you had that difficult thing going on at home. Could we grab coffee? Could we talk more about it? The way that I think the vast majority of us hear from God is often through one another. It's in those conversations that you'll begin to find that kind of a life, because you will not drift into a good life. This is something that happens proactively. It's something that happens when you attach yourself to the right kinds of things. So maybe what you need to do is you need to turn around in your pew right now and find the people around you and say, hey, you want to do this? You want to create, you want to be a community of people right here? Let's do this right now. Anybody? Turn around. See a bunch of people saying, hey, Honey, let's sit on the other side next Sunday. And that's just not these people, all right? Yes, but no. I get it. I'm going to be polite. So maybe not that, but how about this? We're launching groups all the time at Chaparral. And this is a place where if we're doing this right, we're going to have places for you. Whether you're old, young, single, trying to figure stuff out, doesn't really matter. There's a seat for you. And it's not just in this room. Chances are it's in somebody's living room or around a table where we're able to actually have a conversation. That is where you'll start to see this stuff change. Because otherwise, we can keep playing church. That's fine. Again, I don't think this is playing it, but this is just such a small part of the life that Jesus invites us into. I want to wrap up today by talking about some of the old people in our church. Oh yeah, here we go. Buckle up. I'm looking at some of you right now. All right, you know who you are. If you are around Chaparral and you're on that, let's just say, older side, then you might be aware we have a group that meets at 8:45 a.m. in that room, just through that door, a couple of doors, in our garden room. It's called Legacy. Meets at 8:45, and they go for about an hour. They get in, they kind of walk into church today. And that group is filled with a lot of people who've been around Chaparral for a long time. Not just one decade, but some of them have to count with multiple fingers how many decades they have been a part of this place. And as a part of that, as I was kind of thinking through, what does Hesed look like? I'm thinking through our Legacy group. Many of them, they're not here because of me. It's not, they predate me by a long shot. And in fact, it's not any lead pastor that brought them in that leads to them sticking around, because let's be honest, pastors, we can come, we can go. It's not a building that brought them in. It's not the coffee that keeps them here. It's not the incredibly handsome sound guy in the back with a backwards hat on today. Guys, could we give it up for Brad Daniel, who's doing the sound? Yeah. Nobody ever appreciates the sound guy when he gets it right. He's done a wonderful job today. Brad, I see you. I love you. And just so you know, anytime you're wearing a microphone, make sure to compliment the sound guy. Just basic rule. None of these things are what's bringing them in and leading to them sticking around here. What leads these men and women of our church to be elders, be leaders of our church, is their connection to one another. It's going on trips together. It's raising their kids together. It's launching their kids together and watching them go. It's having grandkids together. It's living their life in such a way that they start to have this grip on one another. That where else would I be on Sunday morning at 8:45, regardless of what, ding dong is going to be preaching that morning? I don't care about that. I care about you guys. How is that not an incredible picture of what the church looks like? And I don't know about you, but that's the kind of connection I want to be able to have with other people in the church. It sounds a lot like Ruth, where she says, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. We have a columbarium out back. It's a place for ashes. Did you know that? You could be buried. You could make your friends and be buried right here, guys. Talk about biblical, like that's very Ruth, right? That's the kind of love, that's the kind of community we're trying to build. Is a kind of community that says, even you just need to let me know where you're going to be buried, because I'll just make sure to get a plot next to you. Reservations, you can reserve one now if you're interested in the columbarium out back. A church like that is a church that can stay together even when times get bad. Because our devotion is not just to an institution, it's to the people. And that does not happen without intention. So who do you live in proximity to? Who are your people that you say, this is how I've ordered my life. This is how I shape myself. It's by attaching myself to God. Because this all ends when you get buried out back. It all ends then. But it can start for you today. Let's pray. Lord, you have given us a vision, not just for a simple little solitary life, Lord, but a life together, a life with one another, Lord, where we see and experience you through the wins and the losses, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us. Lord, and you give us opportunities to connect with each other, not, again, in some simple, superficial way, but with great depth and love. Lord, would you continue to reveal in our hearts the things that are grabbing a hold and leading to us not walking in your way, leading to us to put off maybe what you're asking us to do, or to do things that you're asking us to do, but not in a Christ-like way. Lord, you invite us to attach ourselves to you. So would you show us how to do that today? Would you show us how to find these kinds of communities, to be a church that creates these kinds of communities, not for our own good, but for the good of everybody, to see what grippy, strong, holding love and devotion is like in a world that needs that now more than ever. Lord, we thank you for this invitation into this life and ask your blessing on each of us as we discern where you're leading us for our next steps. I ask this all through the power of your Holy Spirit. In the name of Jesus,